Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Heather Havenwood and welcome to Like a Boss, Insights with Influencers, Entrepreneurs, and Badasses like you. I am super excited today to have someone on the call. We're going to have a really cool, interesting conversation about corporate burnout and that, man, is that true or what? And we have a lot of different stories too as what's happening in today's world and our corporate leaders and how there's massive burnout. And that might be working with you too. You might be doing a burnout session on you, what I call going on both sides ends of the candle. So this is going to be a really interesting wake-up call, hopefully, to many of you. And so I want to introduce you to Tevis Trower. Tevis, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Heather.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's introduce you to everybody. So she's called Corporate Mindful Guru. I feel like I'm tongue twisting that, but Corporate Mindfulness Guru. Is that right?
Oh my God. It's so funny. I was called that in a book that quoted me, and I've kind of used it just to encapsulate what I do, but I have to confess, I kind of hate the word.
Yeah, it's a kind of like corporate mindfulness guru.
Gumbo.
Right? Yeah, I would say you're more than that. You're like a mindful sister, kind of like that. Like that. Guru sounds so manly.
A badass. I'm a badass because I'm here with Heather.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. Okay, so you help organizations optimize their most precious assets, humans.
Yeah.
Serving clients over 70 markets. Balance supports organizations, including, you have a lot of different companies here, including Google, Huffington Post, Soros, Bloomberg, and many others, through executive lifestyle, mastery, innovation, and sustainable success. You can find experts and advice in Forbes, Fortune, BusinessWeek, YogaJournal, CIO, Crain's, NYPost, and many others. Teaching business creativity at New York University, NYU. And Tevis has served as a work-life expert at WebMD and HuffPo. I love how you call it HuffPo.
I know. I think they don't like being called that now. I just heard from someone who works there.
It's very like HuffPo. Yo, HuffPo. What's up, HuffPo? You know,
it's like Puff the Magic Dragon without
Puff
any drug. Huff the Magic Po. Or
yeah, it seems very like like people there. Like, what's up with that? You know,
I do know people.
Well, I know you do. Obviously, since in your bio it says, like I work at HuffPo.
Yeah,
it's like saying, like I know them, the Soros. Yeah,
we go way back, way back.
I just think it's funny. It's like, I know Kim. Who's Kim? No, Kim Kardashian. We drive to say the name. It's just Kim. That's funny. All right, that's funny. All right, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about today. And I want to show our viewers. If you don't see the video, I'm pulling up a magazine here. It's called Entrepreneur Magazine. You've ever heard of it? It's November 2018. On the front cover is our darling Elon Musk, and it says 50 most daring entrepreneurs 2018. Why you should, and it says and shouldn't be like Elon Musk, which is perfect. I believe this came out after. I'm pretty sure this came out after the incident with the
meltdown.
Yeah, the meltdown. So let's go there. We're going to talk about today 3 things that I think are emotional health with corporate leaders, which is burnout, meltdown, and emotional health, which is all encompassing, right? But let's talk about the situation that happened with Elon and your take and what you do for clients.
Well, I think it's such an apocryphal kind of tale, right? And it's one that both inspires us and we can learn from, and it should scare us a little bit. And that is that those of us who are driven to perform and to achieve are oftentimes driven by something that is so embedded in us from long ago that it can never be satisfied, right? That desire for the next breakthrough, for the next accomplishment, for the next win, right? It's just that yummy feedback of whatever chemicals are set loose in our body is so compelling, right? So you get an Elon, or you get, admittedly, Steve Jobs was no picture of stability, right? Or you get a lot of, right? And this obsession with performing oftentimes trumps any other thing in our lives. I mean, the story now in Silicon Valley and other parts of the world is that people are microdosing on psychedelics because it does unleash more creative ways of thinking and helps people to access some energy resources that they don't normally have access to. So my question is, if burnout is kind of part and parcel of the risk that we run by being a high performer, right? How do we still heed that voice inside of us that's ever spurring us on, get the next deal, get the next merger, etc., and do so without self-destructing? Because that's where things start to fall apart, is when this drive actually gets the better of us. So we see that in someone like Elon Musk, who does it in a beautiful, tweet-worthy, right? Was all over the headlines for a couple of weeks. Like, I couldn't turn on a news show without that being, oh yeah, 420, right? I couldn't be consuming any media, not hear about it.
Why was it such, so in a corporate setting, why was that so disturbing?
Well, because I think it really flies in the face of this notion that always championing the behavior of our high performers is necessarily a good thing. Right. So there's this,
but let me, so I didn't see anything wrong with the tweet. Like, I don't see any issue with it. And I understand that he, maybe you could talk us through what the tweet was. People don't know who it was, but like, I remember it, and for me, I'm like, it's no big deal. But in the corporate world, it is a big deal. So could you explain the difference of the worlds?
Yes, it's a big deal because, point one, aside from the drug reference, right, a 420, that has nothing to do with it. That was just him being playful. Apparently he and his girlfriend smoke a lot of pot. He smoked pot on podcasts before. Like, this is not a secret. I'm not outing anyone. What was alarming in the corporate world is he went on Twitter and he told the world that he was going to be taking his company private, so that he would not have to be subjected to scrutiny of Wall Street. Now, when you say that and you put a stock price and you say that you've got a buyer that's going to help you buy back all this stock, that immediately causes a fluctuation in your stock value. Now, do you follow? So when you do that, like, the SEC goes crazy, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Actually securities fraud. Like that's actually securities.
Do you think that's because, how is that reference to 420 though? I guess. Stock issue.
No. He smokes pot with his girlfriend. He thought the number 420 would be cute to her. Right.
How adorable.
And for anyone who's listening who doesn't know, like, I had to find this out. This is funny. I didn't know what 420 meant. And then I kept hearing it all the time, and I felt like a dork. And I was like, why is everyone always talking about 420, like on Twitter or whatever? And they said, it's pot, Tevis. It means pot. And I was like, oh, okay.
That is so funny. You're so funny. That's called pot. No, and I get that. That was only a couple of years ago I learned it too. Yeah. But again, going back to a breakdown, what was by the way, let's go through the story. What happened because of that tweet? What happened to Elon?
He's been removed from sole stewardship of his own company. He could face charges by the SEC. Like, that's what's in action currently. So I think that if you're looking at someone who then comes back and confesses, look, I get maybe an hour of sleep per night. The pressure of running SpaceX and of dealing with the scrutiny of the street on the Tesla project is too much, is overwhelming. I can't handle it all. I burn myself out. I've been acting poorly, etc. So he, in many ways, he did the right thing. He stepped forward and he owned what drove that action, that statement and the behavior, and he traced it back to the causes, right? So that actually is a really cool thing, right? Because a lot of times we'll do something unskillful or alarming or piss people off or screw ourselves in some way, and we don't have the circumspection to turn around and say, well, what is it going on with me that led me to do that I can actually own up to?
So in my world, in my experience, I think the reason why he was able to do that, not that I'm like some expert or anything, but I think that he is able to do that because he's really more of an entrepreneur than he is anything. I think one of the biggest mistakes this has happened over and over and over again. Entrepreneurs create, and then they're all of a sudden create something that becomes huge, and then they are, I guess, expected to become a corporate person. And in my world, you're either a corporate person or you're an entrepreneur, period. You know, even Mark Zuckerberg talks about it, or, you know, the guy who owns the Mavericks, Mark, right?
Yeah.
He talks about it. He's like, you know, Richard Branson talks about it. He's like, I am not a manager. I'm not a manager. So you're an entrepreneur, you suck at managing, right? And sometimes you suck at managing yourself. Period. Most entrepreneurs need someone to manage them, right?
Yeah.
Not because they're stupid, because they're constantly in creation. Like their brain's like, ooh, that's how I am. I always tell people I need a mother. Like I need a mother I need a wife, or I need a wife. I can't call it a wife, really. I need to marry a woman who's a wife, but I'm not gay, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. So like, you know, but I need a wife. I need someone to take care of all my stuff because I'm working all the time. I have more of a masculine thing. So that's why I think a lot of men have wives to take care of that kind of stuff, because their brain's always constantly thinking. So I think that part of the challenge in today's world is you see things like this, Entrepreneur Magazine, and they have these amazing creatives, and then they're expected to lead, right? And then they do stuff like this. Like, let me just give you an example of this, and I want your take on it, okay? So it says 50 most, you can't read this, 50 most daring entrepreneur of 2018. All right, so number one's Elon Musk. I mean, obviously, right? But then they have in here like Jenny Ropney, who, by the way, is the CEO of IBM. I'm sorry, that's not an entrepreneur.
That's not an entrepreneur.
What is she doing in here? That is not an entrepreneur. Okay, another one was, here we go. The CEO of Gildan Activewear. Not an entrepreneur. They didn't build a company. They're not creators. They're CEOs. They're corporate. Very different. And they're placed there. IBM, she was placed there. So it's a very different conversation.
She walked into huge resources. Yeah. She walked into infrastructure that is larger than some countries. Absolutely.
Okay, here's another one that I don't think belongs here, and then I'm going to give you the go here. Oscar Munoz, CEO of United Airlines. I mean, that is not a daring entrepreneur. That is not even. That's the problem. People think that that's the same. It's not.
They should put Francis on there, right?
Right, no kidding. So
sorry,
what you think of that? I mean, in the burnout, what you see with clients.
Okay. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about everything that you just said. I think you're right. I think that they are two very distinct personality profiles. I think that they're archetypally, and they should be, right? Because what it takes to catalyze and to create is a different thing than what it takes to tend and nurture, right? Those are two different things. Where I think that I would like to see more leaders learn from what Elon did was, as much as we are fostering people within the organization who are entrepreneurial in spirit, it is still a cautionary tale, point one. Point two, I would like to see more corporate types take ownership of how they burn themselves out, because even if they are corporate, even if they aren't the crazy scientist, right, coming up with a cool idea that then they plow forward with, they still are subjecting themselves to inhumane expectations in terms of the workday, to not having a sense of self outside of work, to not filling up their batteries through other activities, whether it's social, it's nurturing, it's intellectual, it's hobbyist, something to fill up their tanks, something to replenish, and just basically 101 maintenance of what it is to have a human body. And that's what I think is really key, is that Elon stood up and said, yeah, I burned myself out. I made some dumb choices. But I think that that is the kind of a declarative statement that almost any leader I know could honestly say and mean, because most of the high performers I know are struggling with exactly that.
They're struggling from two different worlds, Tevis. You know, they're struggling to create, and then you have people pulling them into things like finances and stuff, you know. And I want you to talk about your story about HuffPo.
Okay.
HuffPo.
I'm never going to live that down,
yes.
am I?
Andre Huffington. So let's share about that. She had a kind of a situation that happened. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is something that she's actually gone on the circuit talking about a lot, because it's the result of this experience was her book Thrive and the creation of Thrive Global, which is a new company to help other companies look at this stuff. So Ariana was the founder that she is, the creator that she is of the Huffington Post, and she had grown it into a very significant enterprise, and she was burning herself out. She had made the transition really from being that wild-eyed thinker and creator to having this huge organization, and was taking on too much, was not sleeping, was not refilling her tanks, was not taking care of her body. And I remember I was supposed to serve on a panel with her for a little startup in New York called Ladies Who Launch, and she was coming as the guest speaker. And suddenly we got the call that she was going to be late, and they said, stall, Tevis, stall, because I was the only one there. And I said, okay. And so we did some audience Q&A. Anyway, she shows up and she's got these dark sunglasses on and a ton of makeup, and she's so self-disclosing. I love this about her. She sits down and she goes, in her beautiful accent that I'm not even going to try to imitate because it would just be all wrong. She says, I have burnt myself out. I was leaving to come to the panel, and just out of clumsiness and lack of self-care, exhaustion, I whacked the crap out of my eye. I think it was on the corner of a desk. And instead of going to the doctor, she came to do the panel because she's a rock star, right? And she puts on the makeup. She comes and talks about it. But the aftermath of that was that it caused her to really slow down and reflect. What am I doing? And not only that, but aside from the lack of ability to invest in self-care, I'm obviously modeling to everyone who works for me. What does it mean about how it's impacting the decisions I make every day? Or how clear I am to be able to think 5 months on down the road, a year down the road, 5 years down the road. Because when your nervous system is constantly jacked up from fear, right? Adrenaline, and the immune system is over-functioning because it never has time to calm down either. The ability to think long-term is just, it's not even a realistic proposition.
Yeah. I mean, I've experienced that recently myself, of just exhaustion. So, it's very challenging to do. I mean, it's just challenging. I think women do it more so than men. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they wear it differently. Probably. I don't know.
I don't have any studies about that, but just based on the work I've done with high performers, I've coached a lot of high performers in our client companies, and I have to argue it's ubiquitous.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It is absolutely ubiquitous. And in some ways, I feel like women have more of a pressure valve around how to offset in the short term so that the long term is not as bad.
Like we like scream and cry and then we have like a glass of wine. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Or we have a friend who drags us to yoga,
or we like go to get a medi,
we go get, we get a mani-pedi. We maybe we have a journal that we ignore half the time, but every now and then maybe we pick it up. Or
I did that last night. I was like, you know what I mean? And then didn't have a glass of wine, but I had my kombucha, but I mean, I think that I do. I know when I'm just what I call empty/full, like I have no energy and I'm also just about to just explode with just stuff going on.
Yes.
So
I love that empty/full.
Yeah. I think men have in your experience, corporate have a little hard time because they're designed for pressure. I mean, they are. I mean, human beings to a point, they're designed to have that experience of providing and pressure. That's what the testosterone hormone does, and the progesterone hormone is a little different. It's just more designed for more open and caring and connection. And so when we could drown ourselves out faster, I think, than men. And we have, in my experience, women, we have to keep up with them. We feel like we have to keep up with them and become like them in some ways, not everyone, but some people. So in corporate America, it's very much like that right now.
It's interesting. I've spent some time with the guy who wrote Born to Run. Interesting guy. You should have him on your show. He's amazing. But he looked at endurance runners, and a lot of studies on pain and endurance actually show that women are able to endure pain longer.
I wonder why.
Go figure.
Birth and stop and every month, I mean, there is a cycle. There is this experience. I would love to feel like, what I call flatline every single day. I don't even know what that's like. No, for a long time I used to make that wrong, and now I'm like, that's what's called I'm a woman. It's just more of a wave, it's just
accept yourself.
Depends on where you get me at my wave. Are you low down? So I've just now accepted that.
Yeah.
All right, but corporate world and things like that doesn't always accept that.
Well, it's something that the corporate world has come up with this lovely scapegoat to throw all of these questions into.
What is that?
And that's wellness programs.
I like how she air quoted
wellness programs. Oh, we'll just throw all these human problems that are being.
That's our wellness program.
Exactly. We have a wellness program for that, and we have EAP, right? When what we're talking about is day-to-day interactional, right? Reinforcement that this is how you should be, and if you're not being this way, then you're not part of the tribe.
Oh my God. Right? Okay, stop. Hold on. I gotta grab on that one, girl.
Okay.
Do not even get me started on that one. If you don't act like us and speak like us, you're part of the tribe. And it's like, well, I'm not you, A. B, why do I have to fit in a mold? You know what I mean? And then the other thing that I came across, some of my clients come across, is like the techies, and then what I call the soft. Soft. Let's call them soft skills and then tech skills, right? Soft skills are leadership, sales, communication, HR, and then you have techies, hardcore dev, and they're like trying to talk. It's like Martians talking to each other, or the different planets. Like, it's like, what? They just don't communicate, Yeah, go ahead. I'm just I could go on that.
That was. I love a good tirade, man. And another thing.
Let me just hold just a second. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
So
go ahead.
So this funny thing about wellness programs, right, is they set them up and then no one in leadership participates, right? They scrutinize them and for employee engagement, right? Well, our employees aren't going. It's like, it's because your leaders aren't going.
Right. Right.
And your employees are saying how frazzled your leaders are and that they're emailing and texting at 2 a.m. over something that is not urgent. What's that tell me?
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's so true. I stopped that whole emailing, texting thing, or especially emailing in the middle of the night.
You're good about it. You've got it down to, I think, an hour or 2 hours a day.
Yeah. So, but here's what I do. So this is my little trick. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually am emailing sometimes at 1, 2 in the morning because, but what I do, no, seriously, there is
you delay the send.
I delay it.
Trick. I know this trick.
It's a good trick because if not, people think, oh, she's up at 2:00 in the morning. I could then text her at 2:00 or, oh, what does she do? And it's like, I just don't do that. So it's like all of a sudden my 3 a.m. email goes out at 7 a.m.
Heather, I do it too.
Right? I totally do it.
Not all the time, but there are times when things are really hairy and you're like, oh my God, I got to get that thought out.
Yeah. Right. You got to get that out. And then you don't want to email it at 3 a.m. Right? So I
don't want my poor sweet team to think I expect them to email. I don't want them emailing.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm going to email that exactly at 7:01.
Yeah. In 32 seconds. Right?
Right? Oh my God. It's so funny. Totally do it. Especially on Sundays. Sundays are my email days. So I'll email and do a bunch of stuff like that. And it's just, should I have that sent out on Monday or Tuesday?
Oh, darling.
I do. It's probably the best thing they ever created, ever. Because before they created that, I put everything in a draft. And then I would go oh, I got to email that,
Old school. Yeah.
So anyway, I forget that I write it, it's just bad.
You have to make a reminder, check the draft folder.
Because in the middle of my day, it's true though. I mean, in the middle of my day, there's stuff happening, phones, texting, all this stuff. And there are times when it's completely quiet at 1 a.m. and you're like, you can actually write an email. If you need to have one of those kind of a write email kind of ones that you could actually think, and so that's why I do that. Right. And then
they think, oh my God, she is so genius at 7:01 in the morning.
Yeah, I just wrote a dissertation at 7 a.m. Really? Come on. Dissertation.
Bullet point.
You know what? Honestly, one thing, I'm not that old, but I do I do wish, I'm thinking of my phone right now. I do wish, this is so bad. I do wish that they could do what I call a screening of your text messages, kind of like, yo girl, you sure you want to send that? It's 2 a.m. That sounds like a booty call. No. Are you sure you want to send that? Or you're kind of pissed right now, girl. Go get some wine before you press it. Come on. I need that app. You sure you need to tweet that?
Yeah. I'm sure there's an app for that.
I'm sure. But you know what? Trump does not have that one. Trump, you sure you want, you sure you want to send that tweet, boy? So the Elon Musk, that would have been one for Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You sure you want to send that? You should, come on, boy. Let's take that down. Did you see some Mercedes that sent during the Super Bowl? Did you hear about that one?
No.
So a friend of mine was doing a post-Super Bowl. Goes back to you. A post-Super Bowl commercial thing. And he had the image of it. Someone took a picture of it, sent it to him, but it was up for a very short period of time. I wouldn't say a couple of minutes. But from Mercedes, and it was at the Mercedes, stadium.
Uh-huh.
And so from the Mercedes Twitter account said, if it wasn't my stadium, I'd be driving away. Because it was kind of boring.
It was so boring.
I thought that was funny. And then it was
I love that. I love that.
Was that guy fired or girl fired? Because that's funny. It wasn't my stadium, I'd be driving away.
But I think that's what all of us want is people who say what they really like, right. not at the expense of global stability, obviously, but
right. It's Mercedes in the Super Bowl. Come on.
Funny. Yeah, it's funny.
It was kind of a boring.
And everyone all over the media was already calling it snooze fest.
Right. So here's a Mercedes. I think whoever it was put a big picture of a Mercedes, they're trying to drive away from their own stadium. I that's the best corporate thing ever. Okay, going back to Meltdown.
Okay.
Let's go back to Burnout, Meltdown, and emotional for corporate leaders. What do you think the solution is? You deal with this all the time. Can you talk about what you do for solution?
Yeah. First and foremost, we tell our clients that you can't solve this stuff through a policy or a program. You're not gonna solve it from the bottom of the organization. That if they've got an engagement problem, a burnout problem, they've got a leadership problem.
Yeah.
Period. And so if they aren't treating it as a leadership initiative, as something that's really key to their strategy, then don't spend money on it, because you're just going to piss yourself off for having wasted the money.
Right.
And you're going to be mad at your employees for not being grateful for the yoga class in the conference room that no one will go to because they feel uncomfortable changing clothes in the bathroom. Right. I know. I was her. I've been her. Right. So don't spend money that way. Do the hard work, back up and say, if we have a cultural problem, it starts at the top, and that means me.
Mm-hmm.
Because
so true.
That's what Elon said. He goes, I've got a problem. I am the problem. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that change is easy. No, but until you as a leader are willing to ask yourself what you are doing wrong, you're not going to get that kind of circumspection and insight from the people that work with you.
You know, one of the things I want to share, if you don't mind, curious what you think of this, but I find sometimes I work with a lot of startups here in Austin, mm-hmm. and mainly men, sometimes younger men. And I feel like I'm being old, but I'm saying this, but I'm not. They look up to, right? Like the Elon Musks and the Steve Jobs at the time, and Mark Zuckerberg. And they look to them. You know how people are when they look up to people, they start to mirror them.
Oh,
they start to, because they're like, oh, well, Mark did that. So I'll give you an example, then I'll pass it on, is that I was at this event. I was actually mentoring one of the two guys. I was helping them get money for funding, VC 2, 3, whatever it was, round.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys were showing up in old ratty jeans and a sweatshirt hoodie. That's because Mark does that. This is not a lie. This is Austin. And I said, look, Mark can do that. He could go to a board meeting and do that. You cannot.
Yeah.
You know, you have people in the room. If you look at the room who's writing the checks, they're men in their 60s, right? Yeah. 60s, 70s, 50s, 60s. They're not going to write a check to that.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got to dress differently. You got to be like, well, Zuckerberg, I'm like, Zuckerberg's not reality, unfortunately. Like you've got to, so I think, what do you say to that about the mentoring of the leaders is even inside the organization as well as globally? People are saying, well, if they're successful, I should mimic that or mirror that.
Do you know, I would actually counter that question with, how are we defining success?
Right? So true. Oh, great question. Yeah.
Freaking, like, and I know that David Brooks is not a great example. Like, I told a friend of mine who works at the Times that I loved his book. It's called The Road to Character.
Who's David Brooks?
He's a Republican pundit who writes great books about what it is to be human, and he's perfect. He's good looking, salt and pepper hair, looks great in a suit, shows up on panels at the Atlantic and the New Yorker and blah blah blah, and he's a conservative pundit. But anyway, he wrote this book called The Road to Character, and he really talks about, are we building a resume or building a eulogy?
We're building a eulogy.
What are the qualities that go on the resume, and what are the qualities that go on the eulogy? And what's actually going to make your life fulfilling? And how do you satisfy the resume, but make sure that you've got a eulogy that we want to experience and hear and celebrate you for, right?
Right.
Because that's actually what's going to keep us from burning out. That's what's going to keep us from freaking out and tweeting a 420 text and putting us in the crosshairs of the SEC to potentially be barred from ever serving on a publicly traded company board ever again.
Isn't good, I would call them leaders or mentors that are leading the pack.
Modeling that?
Growing up, we're like Jack Welch. You know?
I agree.
Reagan and even the artists back then were tame, you know, Prince, you know, Michael Jackson. Some of the stuff that even the artists do in Hollywood and the actors are just off the chain. So it's kind of like, that's what they're growing up with, and they're seeing that that's success. or
So
they're
where do
making
we find
millions,
that?
so I should be making millions kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really work and translate in today's world. So how are people fixing that in corporate America? I mean, you are in corporate. I literally have not walked into a company in a long, long time. They've kicked me out from all corporations.
I dress the part. Okay. I don't actually just wear a cotton shirt when I go to work.
Yeah, right. It's fine. So how do you what are they doing?
So a lot of it is about, so you've got the extrinsic, right? The extrinsic of the culture around you, the corporate culture. You've got the extrinsic of friends and family. You've got the extrinsic of the global tone of the media saying, look at Zuckerberg, look at Elon Musk,
Elon Musk, and
right? And any wisdom path, any success expert, look at Jack Canfield. Like, you can't get more white guy, salt, pepper hair. And
he's adorable.
Yeah, he is adorable. I love him. But all of them are saying, great, you're living in the extrinsic environment that you're living in, but what you can control is what's going on inside. Like, that's where you have to manage from. If you manage from what's going on inside, then you have a footing in the midst of extrinsic mayhem and lack of groundedness and lack of reality and realistic practices, right? Lack of life satisfaction. You can get through that if you start with what's inside of you. And when you start to have conversations with high performers in corporate America, a lot of times they look at you like you're crazy, but I'm in my prime earning years is a statement that we hear a lot. I'm in my prime earning years. And the point
What does that mean exactly in that world? What does that mean?
That has a nuance of ageism that if you're not going to make your millions from the time you're 25 to 43, that you're kind of over the hill.
Okay, seriously, so you just called me over the hill?
Oh my God, I'm way over. I'm over like 8 hills, I think, at this point.
I mean, well, look, I'm 25. But, I'm just kidding.
I'm 19.
I'm 19. I had my 21st birthday.
Very mature. I'm very mature for my age.
This is Botox, people.
Damn it.
Okay, really? Over 43? Really? That's over the what?
I'm just guesstimating because, yeah. Well, so prime earning years is if I don't make my millions now, I'm going to be a loser and I'm never going to.
What the?
So the pressure they put on themselves is during the years where they are starting a family, male or female. I think the women do this to themselves too because we follow the guys, right? A lot of us do.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
That means that these really important years that actually also have a lot of impact on your body's ability to heal itself and to recover and to keep you sharp and to get you through the next session of being a fighter pilot, right? You're kind of damaging because you're not doing the things that you need to do to have the longevity.
It's interesting, and I love what you're talking about, what you're creating. You're really doing some good things. By the way, where can people find you? Tell us.
www. I just like saying that. You can find me at balanceintegration.com, and you can find me at Corporate Yogi on Twitter, and on LinkedIn. I'm both available at Tevis Trower and at Balance Integration. And we have this huge group, I think over 4,000 people, called Corporate Yogis at Work. So if you're one of those people who secretly practice self-mastery and take care of yourself and have a corporate job, that's a place where you can find a lot of other.
Where can they find that?
That is in LinkedIn. So, yeah.
Corporate Mind, what is it called again?
It's called Corporate Yogis at Work.
Corporate Yogis at Work on LinkedIn. Oh, wow. I might go check that. I'm a yogi, but I'm not corporate. But I can act like one.
But you're a badass.
Thank you.
Right?
Badass. Like, bitch, get out of my way. Just kidding.
But the other thing I created that I'm super proud of is I created a series called the C-Suite sessions, and they are 4-minute mini meditations for badasses, for people who
Nice.
have a big game in the world and they may not have the discipline of going to sit on a cushion and wait for their mind monkeys to attack them every day. But these are just really short, practical, and relevant mind clearing tools.
Oh, I want them. I want them.
Yeah, they're so yummy.
Where do you get them?
You can get them on our blog. If you go on our site, it's on our blog. It's also posted on our Facebook, and I always post them on LinkedIn. We've done 3 so far, and I'm going to cut another tomorrow.
Nice.
Hot off the presses. I think I'm going to call it Shelter from the Storm.
So what, say the website one more time so I know where to go.
Balanceintegration.com.
Nice. And so what are we searching for, looking for the,
go into the blog and you'll just click on the blog and the newest one is always right there.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. Well, I will be doing that.
I love them. Like it, share it.
I will.
Tell me if you hate it too. Cause I take criticism really well.
Do you?
Yes. Yes.
Help me do that. I'm not that great at it. I really suck at it, actually.
Hang out with horses. It'll really humble you, Heather. You're in the perfect place for that too.
I should hang out with horses. That's actually a really good idea. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to share this last thing and about high performers. Is that, I was talking to someone who deals with athletes and talking about when they're age over 40, specifically football players, they're like aged out or whatever. And I think it's another problem with culture. 40? Seriously? Yeah. Aged out? What are you talking about? I mean, obviously on their body and athlete, it is. But they're so ingrained in that view that that's why a lot of them end up broke years later, because their view is like they're aged out. They're done. And so they view themselves that way. And I think that's what I'm hearing even in the corporate setting. That's kind of, if I don't get my million by the time I'm 43, I'm aged out. So that's scary.
Yes.
Really scary.
Yes.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being here. Say your website one more time so everyone knows it.
Balanceintegration.com. And Heather, you're so much fun.
Shh. Might tweet that 420.
Stop emailing at 2 in the morning.
At 1 in the morning. I don't do 420, but I'm in Austin, so.
Just walking down the street.
Basically.
Plus, you have barbecue. You have barbecue.
We do have barbecue. I have 4 barbecue.
You have tequila.
We have a lot of tequila.
You have tequila.
We have great tequila. We have a lot of barbecue. I have 4 barbecue shops near my house. In fact, I probably should go get some now because that really sounds awesome. And we have tacos here. We're known for our tortillas tacos and our South by Southwest. So come join us. All right, everyone. This is Heather Havenwood. Thanks for being here. And again, this is Heather Havenwood, Like a Boss. Insights with influencers, entrepreneurs, and badasses like Tevis are on here as well. Please like and share and subscribe. Until next time, we're on iHeart, Spotify, soon to be in Pandora, iTunes, and Google Play, and TuneIn. Bye.